Okay, so hopefully this is recording right now, and it's Donna's 2 ways to make mandalas or rotational symmetry designs in Procreate. I'm not a professional. I just am doing this for fun, and you can see more of my artwork on Instagram at Project Happy Way DBL. So basically I have 2 ways that I've been doing it. On the left side of the screen, you see drawing in color and changing the background. And on the right side of the screen, you see that I draw in black and white or white on black and then change the colors of the background. And I'm going to try to show you that right now. So if we go to where we just were in this stack, and I show you this here, you'll see that this was a quadrant rotational symmetry. And if we go up to the tools and we go to canvas and we go to drawing guide and we go to edit the drawing guide, you'll see along the top here I'm changing the color of it and the thickness of it, so maybe you could see that there's actually these lines going across it. And under symmetry, this is actually radial symmetry, and actually I started it on quadrant symmetry, and you could see that there's a quadrant there. And we'll get back to that in a minute. And if we go here, you can see I did it on magic brush and paper, and I could put that in a group. And then I like to do different layers with different things on it so that I can change different parts of it if I want to. And here's a tip: if you hold down on that layer, you just get that layer. If you hold down on it again, you get all of your layers to show. That's a good tip. And here you can see that there's the background, and I could just change the background color to any color that I want. And let's see, I keep getting that part wrong here. I gotta have background color on, of course. And so you could see that by changing the background color, you get all different kinds of effects. Part of this effect is because I'm on this magic brushy paper. So if I wasn't on magic brushy paper and I was just doing the background, you can see how different anything could look, right? And also because I do some of the designs on different paper, different layers, you can also do something like go to recolor under here and place that there, and since that's white up here, it'll change it, and I could tap and tap and tap and get the colors to change. But I'm going to undo that by tapping. So I hope this kind of explains how I sort of do this color here. Let's get everything to show back up. And I had the magic brushy paper on here, and there you go. Anyway, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the other one. I hope I'm not going too fast or too slowly. So here, this is one that I drew. You can see I drew it very differently in black and white, and I'm going to show you how I did the drawing. But what I like to do is, you see you can change the color by using what's called a clipping mask. So if you have the clipping mask there, it's going to use that for the lines. And then if I put the black background back, you can see that I could get different colors by having different layers. That's a glittery one. We'd probably take that off. And if I go back to this and I take off all my clipping masks, it's going to go back to my black and white one. And I can also change the background color here if I want to. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm using clipping mask on a black and white picture. So I put on the black background, and there you go. So now let's get to the drawing part. I guess that's what you really are kind of interested in as well. So I'm going back to my gallery, and you can see I have all different kinds of ones. I usually get the idea for it, like I got the idea for the flamingos while I was actually doing it. So let's go back and let's make something new. Okay, I like to use a new canvas, and I'm going to create it, and I like to do a square maybe 5,000 by 5,000. It does limit your layers. I have an iPad Pro, so that's pretty good. And then you can always make it smaller. I think it has to do with how smooth people like the lines to look, but this is okay with me. 17 layers is going to be okay with me. So here we go, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into the tools here, and we're going to go to drawing guide and edit the drawing guide. And you can change the color of the drawing guide and the thickness of the drawing guide and the size of the drawing guide. So if I'm doing symmetry, I'm going to hit symmetry, and I'm going to go to options, and we can go to radial, rotational. Sometimes it doesn't seem to always hold, so I'm not sure why. So I'm just making sure that it's, I do like the rotational. Let's see. You tell me why it doesn't hold it. And then if we say done, oh, just by accident there. Okay, I'll probably edit some of this movie out because I see that I'm not doing it as smoothly as I would like. Okay, let's get that. I'm making it pretty dark so that you can see it. And now you have to make sure you're on assisted layer, right? And I could do the background as black, and I like to do the drawings with monoline and make sure that it's pretty well streamlined. And then obviously I can't see my guide, so I'm going to edit my drawing guide and make it a color I can see. And now I'm going to draw in white. Double tap for my white. And I like to zoom in and see this. Okay, that pencil size is way too big, so I'm going to go much smaller. So you can just start to draw, and if you hold your pen down, you get the ellipse created up on top, if you see the very top of the screen. And you can keep that. You can edit the shape if you want to. You can go back. So a lot of times I just kind of start. If you hold it down too long, it makes a straight line. So you kind of have to get used to your curve, or it'll make it like that, and that's not what I like. So if I'm doing something very intricate, I might start with a pretty skinny line, and then if you hold your curve, it locks into place. So you can really get things to be pretty accurate that way if you want. And then I just start to sort of have fun with it and see where it's going. Right now that's really pretty small if you look in there. And some people have this issue with it not being bicubic and not looking really perfect because it gets pixelated. But I'm gonna just say that it doesn't really bother me too much. So you start to do things like this, and I start to get bigger and bigger, and I may go, and then, so if you're on rotational symmetry, you're going to get these designs that are going to kind of go over what you did. So by holding down, it makes the shape perfect. Sometimes I get crazy and I go back in and I start to make erasures. You can also get perfect shapes, and you could edit that shape. What did someone say? If you hold down with 2 fingers on the screen, it'll make it so you can make circles. You can hold that, right? So you can do all kinds of things like this. I'm good at the swirl, but if I hold down too long, it's not going to stay. And then it's just a matter of what I like. And then it's the way you color it in. If you get a little crazy right there. So that's one way that I do it, and I hope I'm showing you enough of that. And you could add another layer, but you want to make sure that you're in drawing assist, so that when you're doing it on this layer, it's still going to assist you. I think it's just a matter of learning how to draw when you have the symmetry, and to take advantage of the symmetry. Now I'm going to show you a little bit different way. So I'm going to just clear the layer, and I'm going to clear this layer as well. Now you can also just do the quadrant symmetry. So if I go under here and I go here and I just do quadrant, I'm just going to get the 4, and some people like that. And so another thing I might do is I might use my monoline brush in color and do things like make little flowers. And those are really pretty simple little flowers. And then I might add another layer and make sure that it's drawing assist, and maybe do a dot or something like that. Oops, too big, right? So we're going to go down smaller. And then maybe make this, start to do some of the I like to actually, I'm going to put this on a new layer up here, and that way I can actually put it underneath if I want to, you know, and then you can drop and fill. I'm not making these very, very complex right now. You'd have to take other people's video tutorials to show how, you know, to make basic designs like this, right? And using thick lines and thin lines and changing the color. I might not go that thin, but, you know, things like that. So if you get good at it, then again, this is a good one for butterflies and for hearts, because actually, let's see, I'm going to go back to this, and I don't want it on rotational right now. And so now when I do this, so it's sort of practice about getting things to match up, and you can always zoom in and you can like take your eraser and just make sure it's perfect if you're into that kind of thing. So some of it is based on just being able to draw with the symmetry. You could go into an end like that and then erase, or my other trick that I was doing before was that if I do it on a different layer, make sure it's assisted. And it goes a little past that green, then you could always put it underneath, right? So I'm hoping that this will explain some of the ways that I've been doing it, and I wasn't talking too long. So, oh gosh, getting it back to the gallery doesn't seem to want to do that. So you could see I have some different ones here. This is one that I did. And again, you can see my different layers that I did on the side, and that you could change the color, background, just easily like that. And because I did it on a magic paper, it has that texture on it. And you can see all the different layers that I like to work on when I'm doing a design like this. So this was, if we look at this one, the drawing guide. Okay, it's left over from the last one, so you'd have to make sure that you put it back on radial rotational. And if we go back to the gallery, you could see sometimes I make them and they're much less busy, and I put the background on. You could see how you can really change things. If I put this, it's just fun to play around with different layers. And so again, this would have been, I would have just done rotational coloring, so I could just do one of those really quickly. So let's just make sure that's on drawing assist, and I would probably pick a airbrush, something soft like that, and maybe start with the red, and you know, go to orange, maybe something brighter. It doesn't seem very bright, I have to say. I like things bright, and I don't have to be too careful. I could make it a little bit bigger. Oops, maybe too big. You can see when you make it bigger, it's fuzzier like that, and I could play forever. So, and you can also go up to Gaussian blur, and you can see, look at the top of the screen where it says Gaussian blur. So that's another way to make kind of a cool thing in the background, so that when you have your layers there, you get your different colors. Enjoy.